My daughter has had trouble sleeping for the past week or so since we moved into our new home. Her teachers have told me numerous times that she has fallen asleep during class and even at lunch. When questioned about her apparent insomnia, she would merely shake her head and mumble that she was fine. Even when I took it upon myself to ask her what was wrong and why sleep had suddenly decided to elude her, she would just look away. Fearing this endless cycle of not being able to sleep properly would severely harm the health of my daughter, I decided to observe my daughter's sleep cycle. I sent her to bed that night at her usual time, around 9, and stayed awake in my room until I was sure she was asleep. I thought that perhaps she had sleep apnea or some other similar ailment that was interrupting her heart's rhythm, for example. However, I was surprised to hear her door open around 10:30. I thought she was only going to the bathroom at first or was going to sneak around to get snacks, but then I heard the patio door to our backyard slide open and close. Deeply worried that my daughter was sleepwalking outside or even doing something unsavory while I was asleep crossed my mind alongside other panicked thoughts. I walked out of my room and headed towards the slider door, but made sure all of the lights in the house were off so she wouldn't know I was watching her. I peered outside and saw under the moonlight that my daughter was standing in front of the shed, unmoving with her arms raised up. It was like she was praising or worshiping the shed or something in it. I was afraid that someone or something would attack her. I still wanted to wait and see what would happen. For an hour, I watched my daughter, watching her move her mouth rapidly, talking silently to some unseen entity. And right at 11:30, she dropped to the ground. And just as quickly, she sat right back up and started back towards the house. I then, apprehensively, went outside to meet her at the door, but she looked up at me with blank, empty, and soulless eyes, not responding to anything I said to her. She walked back to her bed without a word. I then looked towards the shed and felt like I was bombarded with some kind of malicious energy exuding from it. I hurried inside and tried my best to sleep. Over the next week, I watched my daughter do this every night as I researched the history of our home. And what I found was extraordinary. The last couple who lived there were cult members who worshipped some demented night god who liked to eat children. The couple had apparently murdered several children and then hung themselves inside of that shed where they had an altar to their god in hopes it would welcome them into godhood. With this new information, I destroyed the shed and immediately moved into an apartment with my daughter while I went about selling the home. And ever since we left that house, my daughter has been sleeping peacefully. However, even though I know we're safe here in this apartment, I'm deeply troubled by what my daughter might have seen and what she talked to during those nightly trances. I like to think she was just sleepwalking, and even though I don't believe in ghosts or monsters, I didn't want to take any chances.